Hey everybody. Any football fans here? No. I'm so ready. I've got my brand Innovators jacket on. Once you host 5 times, you get this jacket.
I got some work to do then, don't I?
Yeah, you got to get on it. All right, what are we going to talk about?
All right, we're going to talk about what is going on with the NFL, what's happening with your momentum, which has been really exciting this past year to see 93 of the top 100 telecasts be NFL games, and how you look to take advantage of the momentum that you have and how you're reaching out to new audiences to bring them in.
So you want to hear the Taylor Swift story? That's what you're saying.
That's actually not officially on the list.
It's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine because as much as I love Taylor, and I do love Taylor, yeah, it's just like, the growth of the NFL, it's all Taylor Swift. Like, no, it's not! But, you know, it's so incredible to have that kind of level of, authentic, embracing the game and embracing what's going on right now with the NFL. It truly is exciting to be a part of this. It hasn't always been this way. I mean, obviously the NFL has been a powerful entity for, now 104 years. But it wasn't that long ago when I came on board that, it was tough. There were a lot of questions around the NFL. The youth segment in particular had been in decline for 6-7 years. And there was a lot of negativity around a lot of the stories around the NFL as it related to safety and it related to some of the discussions we were having with our players and so forth. There was a lot of tension. So when I came here, I was really excited because I loved this game and I knew that it was, as a marketer, this was an incredible challenge, right? How can you work with your colleagues? How can you build up a department and then find a way to sort of get this thing, start to work into where we're telling our own story. We take control of our own narrative again and begin to build something. And so I feel so fortunate because I have been able to, thanks to Commissioner Goodell and a lot of the colleagues I work with at the NFL, I have been able to sort of build a first-class program with an incredible team. Some of you folks are in here right now. In fact, I'm sure that a lot of my team showed up just to see what the hell I was going to say because, like, oh God, what's he going to say this time? No, but I do. In all sincerity, I am blessed with an incredible team. I'm blessed with 32 teams who are just in their own right great organizations, and at least one of them from the Rams is here today, and I don't know if there's any others today, but I think that we have turned things around in a really positive direction. Obviously, the product itself, football, has been going great. The games have never been better. The closeness of the scores, the number of points that's being scored, how a team can be in last place in their division one year and the next year they're in first. There's just all kinds of things that the football operations and the team's football operations have been doing to make this game great. But it is also true that us in charge of building the image of the brand and bringing in new audiences who will make this game even more exciting and better has been a big part of our story. And that's been it's been exciting for me, and it's been, I think, a real blessing, right? Because as we get into it, I'll talk more about that. But by bringing in what we call our casual fans, our casual audiences, which are essentially more girls and young women, more young people, and more Latinos, we have really built out this fan base, and it's never been stronger. The largest fan base of all time, highest perceptions, highest buzz. Things are going well, and our job, of course, is to keep it going and not to be complacent.
Yeah, I love that. And I definitely was interested to hear your perspective on women in sports. And I mean, this is a marquee year for women's sports, and the work that you're doing with the NFL to bring women not just in as fans, but also into the sport. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that in LA 28.
Yeah, I mean, wow. And how many of you guys, probably every single one of you in here, saw the NBC Olympics? I mean, they just did a fabulous job. And I think all of us who were able to sort of see it, whether on television or be lucky enough to go there and experience it, I mean, what an incredibly inspiring, and then in all the thing that what's happening with women in sports and basketball and so many other sports is just incredible, right? And so to directly answer your question, how we look at it at the NFL, one thing is just pure interest and engagement and fandom, right? And one of the things that we always remind ourselves is that if we don't, in sports, but certainly we know our own sport, if you don't get a fan by the time they're 18, you're never going to get them, right? It's just like you have a window of which to bring them in. And I try to remind the team all the time, like there's no acquisition strategy for a 34-year-old. It just, it doesn't happen. And we see that in all of our data. So getting, young people into this sport before they're 18 is absolutely essential. And getting women involved, it has been more challenging in the past because the best way to get someone to be a fan is to get them to play the game, right? Sure, they can play Madden or they, but like getting someone to actually play the game. So the focus, as an example, the focus that we have had as a league and with our 32 teams on girls and women in flag has been a huge step forward, right? I mean, flag has been growing, but anytime you, from a top-down basis and from a bottom-up, where the league and the 32 teams really decide that this is an incredible and big opportunity for us and that we're all going to go for it as a collective entity, things happen, right? The scale that we have, the influence we have in this country, things can be turned around very quickly. In just the last year, we have more than doubled the participation of women in flag football, which is incredible. We're now, I think we're up to 11 states that are sanctioned. So girls flag football and varsity sports is sanctioned in those states. I think we have another 16 pilots that are out there right now. So we've been able to do this from just obviously all working closely together, working with all of our partners on a grassroots basis. We have plenty of really important partners. And, big things happen in a short amount of time. So participation is key. To be honest, being more of a human authentic brand in the way that we speak to our audience is really been important and helpful. We measure every campaign. In fact, we measure every damn execution. But we are constantly looking at how we are bringing in different audiences. And so by being a more open, inclusive, more human organization, it has helped us connect more with young women and with really all women within our fan base. So I think those messages and being willing to have these conversations around mental wellness and around the importance of embracing sort of development and character of our youth. And talking about some of these more sensitive subjects, social justice is an example. These are things that have really been much more appealing to our broader audience, and particularly women, and have helped us bring people in. And then, yes, having ambassadors like Taylor Swift, of course, has really been helpful, particularly for that 12 to 24-year-old segment of young women. It's been, she's been incredible. But that is really part of an ongoing strategy that we have led by Ian Trabet and his group, which is all about, how do we use influencers and creators and who are authentic fans of the game themselves, but then, help make them more successful, and then, of course, bring in their audiences, right? So it's been another big part of our strategy as well. So I would say tone, messaging, being more human and authentic with the way that we come across, and then getting young women to actually play the game has been key to us growing that audience.
Yeah, I so many things in there that I want to ask about. The first one I want to kind of unpack a little bit is, I'm hearing a lot of how the NFL is really about more than just what's happening on the field. There's a lot of programming that's going on outside the field, and Angela went through a ton of programming that's happening outside live games. And
she's doing, her team is incredible. But
yeah, and she sounds very busy. Incredible.
She's got a great last name, too.
She does, absolutely. And I'm curious to hear more about how you think about the NFL having a purpose beyond what's on the field and can be a force for good in the U.S. and now globally as you expand.
Yeah, because there's three strategic tenets of our strategy. Strategic tenets doesn't sound right. Okay, of our strategy, which I think has really helped propel us forward. One is just the helmets off strategy. So 6 years ago, we just decided that unless it's a highlight, everything that we do is going to be helmets off. And quite literally, you can say, well, most of these players have their helmets on all the time, so nobody knows who these guys are. So as a way to actually get people to know what they look like and recognize them, but more importantly is like who they were as human beings, right? So like who are the people behind the helmet? What do they care about? What are the things that really are intimately and powerfully important to them as individuals? And then how can we get behind what they care about, right? So that was the essence of our helmets off strategy. The other things that were very important for us were like, how do we look at all of our marketing communications as like a dual-pronged strategy? You're either celebrating the game and how awesome this game is and exciting and fun it is, or you're transcending the game, right? And you're using the influence and the power that the NFL has as a force for good. And there's a lot of things that we already do, but we just weren't talking about it, right? I mean, we spend literally $500 million a year as a league and 32 teams for causes, right? But why are we doing this? And let's tell some stories about these important areas. Let's work closely with the athletes, the players, and have them tell the stories. And then sure, like the checks are important, right? I mean, they make things happen. But using our platform as a force for good and being very open and transparent and really, again, I think human and authentic has made all the difference. And I think that, in the beginning, sure, as you do something like that, fundamentally different like that, there's always going to be some skeptics. There's always going to be some folks within the organization who are wondering, well, how is that helping us? Why don't we just stick to football? How is that helping us build our brand? But what you see is that it has helped us earn trust and earn the respect and the fandom of people out there who didn't think that they belonged within the NFL fan group, right? They just didn't feel that they were welcome or belonged there. And I think that the way that we have been working and the way that we have reached out in a very, true, authentic way has brought people in. So this dual-pronged strategy of, either talking about the joy of the game or being a force for good, transcending the game, has really been a secret to our most recent success.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about your people-centric approach. At Razorfish, we put people first in all of our marketing campaigns, and it sounds like you're doing the same here at the NFL. And curious to learn a little bit about how you think about a people-first approach when it comes to viewing. I know streaming has become a big part of the way you're distributing content now, and just would love to kind of hear your perspective on how you think about the mix and the places that you're showing live games.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the most, amazing, exciting things that the NFL has done, and I can't take any credit for this, but I'm certainly glad to be a part of it, is the dramatic fashion of which we have been able to bring in audiences on all these digital platforms, right? Like working with our streaming partners now. If you think about it, it was only a few years ago where everything that we did was on traditional linear networks, right? The fact that we're now having Thursday Night Football on Amazon and Sunday Ticket, which is a huge part of our offering, is now with YouTube and YouTube TV. We're going to have 2 games with Netflix on Christmas this year. Like there's so NBC and like all the things that we're doing together with those partners, right, on Peacock. It's incredible the amount of football now. And what's even better is that we are getting what we call TV-like audiences on these digital platforms. And then guess what? They're younger, right? So everything we've been trying to do to bring in more casual audiences, more diverse audiences, and younger audiences is working because of also the things that we have done with these platforms. So it is incredible. I think the other thing which is so exciting to see is all the alt casts and all the things that we've been able to do, like taking some chances with like Nickelodeon. If you haven't seen a game on Nickelodeon, you should. Even if you don't have kids, you should watch because it's freaking fun, right? Like to see all these guys slime when they score and all that stuff. It's just fun. And how many of you in here saw the Toy Story alt cast last year? Yeah. I mean, again, we may or may not be doing it this year. You'll see. I can't announce it right now. but there will be some surprises this year. But the technology around that was relatively simple. So we have this technology where both in the mouthpiece and on the shoulder pad, we these digital devices which basically measure everything that happens on the field, and that's for health and safety. So we want to know if a player gets hurt, why, so we can correct it and make the game safer. Well, by using that technology, we essentially were able to sort of altcast the game animated live, right? So you could watch the game being played live with animated football players. As the game was, there's only like a very short delay, right, between the game itself and the cast of it. And they were all in Andy's room from Toy Story. So you could sit there and watch the game animated-wise with your kids or on your own and see the game, and all the Andy and all the Toy Story characters were all cheering on the sideline. It was just amazing. And I can remember, like, I was sitting in the boardroom with the commissioner, and they kind of showed us a little bit of what it was going to look like. And I remember thinking, like, oh, God, that looks like shit. Like, this is going to be, I don't know if this is going to work, And it was just a little bit, but you have to have faith, right? And I just love the fact that the NFL had so much courage to just do it. And it was great. When I saw it on TV, I'm like, oh, my God, this is amazing. I couldn't believe it. So I think having a brand that when you're a leader, you're constantly challenging yourself. You're constantly taking risks. And you're doing things that haven't been done before. I mean, to me, that's an important lesson for all, brands and marketers. And I like to think that as a leader of the marketing team, that's pretty much the mantra that we have. I mean, even though that we are obviously strong, and you talked about the power of the NFL, on as a mass media and so forth, but like the risks that we are taking every single, season, and in some instances every week with our teams and doing things that haven't been done before, we're basically acting like we're an underdog. We're behaving like an underdog, even though we're the leader. And I think that, and when I see that the league is doing that as well, led by, Roger Goodell, I couldn't be more excited and proud to be a part of it.
I'm curious, when you think about taking risks and the great work that you're doing in marketing, I know you and I chatted a little bit about this election cycle, which I think is a context we're all living in as marketers and trying to navigate through safely with, it's a pretty difficult climate for humans to be in right now in this country. And I know we talked a little bit about how the NFL is starting to take a position of being a uniter, and wanted to hear a little bit more about that, because I think it's a really important message for the country, no matter where your politics lie.
Yeah, and I have I've been in a lot of these forums with other CMOs, and a lot of them have challenged me on my views on this. But listen, let me put it this way. I think a lot of brands try to hide during these periods. I think that they try to just, come up for air when everything is settled down. And I think that we learned at the NFL during 2020 when the pandemic hit, and it was a big, again, divisive presidential election, and then also there's a string of horrific murders that we all saw and experienced. I think we learned that, like, you know what? We can't just sort of sit here and just wait till it's over, or hope to like get through this period. We actually need to look at this as an opportunity to actually come out strong or come out better, and actually become an important leader, a cultural leader, and in some instances, kind of a guiding light culturally, right, within the country. And so, what are the things that we can do that align with our own values as a brand that will actually help the country unite? Because there are some things we all agree on. Not a lot these days, but there are some things we can all agree on. And I think that, as an example, this year, like we did 2 years ago and like we did 4 years ago during the last presidential election, we have a great get out the vote, right, effort. And like, we're using our platform, we're using our players, we're using, in many instances, actually our facilities, and we're trying in a very bipartisan way. We are doing our best to have people focus not on what they don't agree on, but on their right to actually vote and to be a part of the process. We think that's very important. We also think finding ways that, how can people come together as human beings is important. So maybe you haven't seen the campaign that we use to sort of kick off our season. And if there's time, Brandon, I don't know if there is, but if there's time, I'd like to actually show it, because I think it shows in a very authentic, inclusive way how football brings people together, right? The other thing is that I think you just need to be willing to sort of talk about very complex, tough issues in a way to where you're being honest and open about things, and you're also willing to admit mistakes. I think, again, going back to 2020, when we saw what was going on, I think it became very clear that the NFL had made some mistakes in the past, and that we had to talk about it. We had to sort of like, you know what, if we had to do it all over again, we would do it differently. And we wish we would have listened to some of our players who were making these very important, strong statements. And the commissioner was really wanting to be open about that and to do interviews. Did everybody like it when we first started talking about it? No. But now that we've been consistently talking about the importance of inclusion, the importance of equality on an ongoing basis, the critics are few. And it's actually, again, and we of course look at all the brand metrics that we have. It's actually strengthened our brand, and it's made the football entity of the NFL much more powerful, much more persuasive, and quite frankly, a better partner with our players as well, which was important, right? Sort of looking at the clear tension that the league and that many of the clubs had with players at that time. And I think that the journey that we've been on, the sort of, healing and bringing together and earning the trust and respect of those players has made a huge difference, I think, in terms of the power of our team, our collective team. And I think it's made all the difference in the world.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. I think we're just about at time.
Yeah,
I just wanted to thank you for your sharing your thoughts. I think it's so important for companies today and big brands that are leaders to have a voice in the marketplace, and we see that in all of our consumer research, that they're looking for that kind of connection, authentic alignment of values. So thank you for sharing
so
all
much.
that.
Hey, can we show the spot or no? We have time? Let's show the spot. Thanks, you guys. Hey, have a
Thank
great afternoon.